The research vessel Eternal Seeker drifted through the void between the spiral arms of the galaxy, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. The Galaxians aboard were among the most advanced researchers in the known galaxy, their civilization having achieved spaceflight, while humans were still mastering bronze tools. But in this moment, all their advancement meant nothing. Chief researcher Zara Nell watched through multispectral sensors as the quantum anomaly they'd been studying grew exponentially larger than their calculations had predicted. Her iridescent scales shifted from their usual calm blue to a worried purple as she realized their containment fields were failing. "Emergency protocols initiated," announced the ship's AI, its voice maintaining the characteristic serenity that the Galaxians prized above all else. "Quantum cascade failure imminent. Containment breach in 17 minutes." The bridge crew moved with practiced grace, their elongated fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. They had trained for emergencies, but nothing like this. The anomaly they'd discovered was supposed to be a simple space-time distortion, the kind their people had been studying for millennia. Instead, it had evolved into something that defied their understanding of physics itself. "Status report," Zara Nell commanded, her secondary breathing chambers expanding to help process the surge of stress hormones. "The anomaly is generating inverse tachyon particles," reported first observer Kextaw, his scales now a matching shade of worried purple. "They're interfering with our quantum drive's containment matrix. If we don't stabilize it soon, the drive will collapse." The implications were clear to everyone on the bridge. A quantum drive collapse wouldn't just destroy their ship, it would create a cascading reaction that could tear a hole in spacetime itself. Their mission of peaceful research could accidentally become an extinction-level event for any civilization within several light years. "Begin emergency broadcast," Zara Nell ordered. "Full spectrum, all frequencies, maximum power." The ship's communication array hummed to life, broadcasting their distress call across every known frequency and several theoretical ones. The message was simple but carried weight beyond its words: coordinates, situation details, and a warning about the quantum anomaly's potential for catastrophic failure. "Signal broadcasting," confirmed communications specialist Miravex. "But Chief, we're in the Outer Rim. The nearest Galaxian outpost is 3 weeks away at maximum speed. The closest Galactic Council facility is even further." Zara Nell's scales shifted to a deep indigo, resignation. Their civilization's dedication to careful, methodical expansion meant there were vast regions of space where they maintained no presence. It was a philosophy that had served them well for millions of years, but now— "Continue broadcasting," she ordered, "and prepare the research data for emergency transmission. If we can't prevent this catastrophe, we can at least warn others." The minutes ticked by with excruciating slowness. The quantum anomaly continued to grow, its effects becoming visible even to normal space sensors. The ship's AI calmly counted down their remaining time, each announcement driving home the futility of their situation. "Unusual energy signature detected," announced Kextaw suddenly, his scales flickering with surprise. "Multiple vessels entering the system at— That can't be right." "Explain," demanded Zara Nell. "The vessels are traveling at speeds our sensors shouldn't be able to detect until they're much closer. Their drive signatures don't match anything in our database. And they're heading straight for us." The unknown ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel close enough to be visible through the bridge's observation dome. Their design was unlike anything the Galaxians had ever encountered. Angular, aggressive, with none of the flowing aesthetic that dominated galactic engineering. They were clearly warships, but modified somehow, bristling with equipment that defied easy classification. "We are receiving a transmission," reported Miravex, her scales now cycling through colors in confusion. It's coming through on all our frequencies simultaneously. The translation matrix is having trouble processing their language. But a voice cut through the ship's communication system, speaking in a rough approximation of standard Galactic. "Galaxian vessel, This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Emergency Response Fleet. We've detected your quantum drive destabilization. Hold position. We're coming to help." The bridge crew exchanged looks of shock. Earth. Humans. The primitive Deathworlders who had burst onto the galactic scene less than 2 centuries ago, whose advancement had been so rapid it frightened the more established species. The ones whose very classification as a sapient species had been debated due to their aggressive evolution and technological development. They were also the only species crazy enough to develop faster-than-light travel without solving quantum stabilization first. The only ones who had learned to work around physics instead of waiting to master it. "More vessels arriving," reported Kexta. "Their energy signatures. They're generating some kind of field that's actually suppressing the quantum cascade effect. That shouldn't be possible." Through the observation dome, Zyra Nell watched as the human ships moved into formation around the Eternal Seeker. Their movements were precise, coordinated in a way that spoke of extensive experience with emergency operations. But how could such a young species have developed these capabilities? "Quantum cascade effect reducing," announced the ship's eye. "Containment breach now estimated in 43 minutes. Galaxian vessel," the human captain's voice came through again, clearer this time. "We're deploying emergency containment teams. Please be advised that our methods may seem unconventional by your standards. We recommend you trust our expertise in crisis management." Zyra Nell's scales shifted to a color that had no name in human languages, a mixture of hope, fear, and fascination. Their civilization had achieved its longevity through careful planning and methodical advancement. But perhaps, just this once, the galaxy needed something different. Something human. "Understood, Captain Chen," she responded. "We place ourselves in your hands." As the human ships began their rescue operation, Zyra Nell couldn't help but wonder if this encounter would change more than just their immediate future. After all, the galaxy had dismissed humans as primitive Deathworlders, but perhaps that was exactly what made them uniquely suited for moments like these. The Eternal Seeker had sent out a call for help expecting their own kind to answer. Instead, they got humans, and that might just be exactly what they needed. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ERS Thunderchild, her augmented eyes processing multiple streams of data simultaneously. The holographic displays surrounding her command station showed real-time analyses of the quantum anomaly threatening the alien vessel. Most species would have seen chaos in the swirling data patterns. Chen saw opportunity. "Status report on the containment field," she ordered, her voice calm despite the tension pervading the bridge. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez, their quantum systems specialist, responded without looking up from his station. "The Galaxian containment protocols are failing because they're trying to suppress the anomaly directly. Their technology is actually more advanced than ours, but they're thinking about this all wrong." Chen nodded. It was a common pattern they'd encountered in their dealings with older spacefaring races. Advanced technology coupled with rigid thinking. A dangerous combination in crisis situations. "Deploy the gravitational tethers," Chen commanded. "Full-spectrum harmonic disruption pattern." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, their movements reflecting years of handling impossible situations. Unlike the elegant crystalline technology of the Galaxian vessel, human emergency response ships were built with a philosophy that prioritized adaptability over aesthetics. "Captain," called out Dr. Emma Patel, their xenophysicist, "the Galaxians are requesting an explanation of our containment strategy. They're concerned about our approach." Chen allowed herself a small smile. Of course they were concerned. Humanity's solution to quantum drive destabilization wasn't to contain it. It was to deliberately destabilize it further, but in a controlled way that would cause the cascade to collapse in on itself. "Tell them we're implementing Protocol Omega-7, she responded, "and remind them that sometimes the best way to put out a fire is to start a bigger one." The Thunderchild's external manipulator arrays sprung to life, deploying what looked like a chaotic web of energy filaments around the Galaxian vessel. To most species, it would have appeared random, even desperate. But there was a method to the apparent madness. First phase gravitational tethers deployed, Rodriguez reported. Beginning harmonic disruption sequence. The Vilaxians, their sensors are going crazy. They're requesting we stop immediately. Negative, Chen replied firmly. Continue the sequence. Dr. Patel, please explain to our friends that what they're seeing isn't random interference. We're creating a controlled quantum collapse. Through the bridge's main viewport, the space around the Vilaxian ship began to distort. The quantum anomaly they'd been studying was growing, but now it was growing in patterns dictated by human intervention. Where the Vilaxians had tried to suppress and contain, humanity had learned to redirect and reshape. Quantum cascade approaching critical threshold, announced the Thunderchild's eye. Harmonic resonance patterns holding steady. Containment field integrity at 47% and falling, exactly as predicted. The bridge crew continued their work, each member focused on their specific role in this elaborate dance of controlled chaos. They'd developed these techniques through necessity, learning to work with the fundamental forces of the universe rather than against them. Captain, Dr. Patel called out, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from within the Vilaxian vessel. I think they're trying to reinforce their containment protocols. Chen's augmented eyes narrowed, open a direct channel to their chief researcher. Now, the holographic communication interface sprung to life, revealing Zyra Null's concerned face. Her scales were shifting through patterns that the human translation software interpreted as extreme distress. Chief Researcher, Chen began, her voice carrying the weight of command. I understand our methods seem counterintuitive, but you must disable your containment protocols immediately. They're interfering with our harmonic disruption sequence. Captain Chen, Zyra Null responded, her translator struggling to convey the complexity of her emotional state. What you're attempting goes against every principle of quantum mechanics we've established over millions of years of research. With all due respect, Chief Researcher, Chen replied, a hint of steel entering her voice. Those principles were established by species that evolved on worlds where the laws of physics were relatively constant. We came from a world that taught us different lessons. She gestured to her bridge crew, each member a testament to humanity's unique path to the stars. Every human you see here grew up on worlds where survival meant learning to adapt, to think differently. We don't just bend rules. We break them, then rebuild them into something new. Through the viewport, the quantum anomaly was now a swirling vortex of energy, its patterns matching the predictive models displayed on the bridge's holographic screens. To the Vilaxians, it must have looked like the prelude to disaster. To the humans, it was just another Tuesday. Your containment protocols are based on the assumption that quantum stability is the natural state of space-time, Chen continued. But we learned early on that instability is just as natural, and sometimes more useful. Please, trust us. Disable your systems. There was a moment of tense silence on the bridge. Then, slowly, the energy signatures from the Vilaxian vessel began to fade as they powered down their containment protocols. Harmonic resonance patterns stabilizing, Rodriguez reported, a note of satisfaction in his voice. Quantum cascade is beginning to fold in on itself. It's working, Captain. The swirling vortex of energy around the Vilaxian ship began to collapse, not in the catastrophic way they had feared, but in a controlled implosion that left behind nothing but normal space-time. The impossible had been made possible, not through overwhelming force or superior technology, but through humanity's unique approach to problem-solving. Crisis averted, Chen announced, allowing herself to relax slightly. Begin standard post-crisis protocols. And someone please explain to our Vilaxian friends why sometimes the best solution isn't to fight chaos, but to embrace it. As her crew began their post-crisis procedures, Chen couldn't help but notice the way the Vilaxians were watching them, with a mixture of fear, fascination, and dawning understanding. They had just witnessed something that would challenge their fundamental understanding of the universe. But that was humanity's gift to the galaxy, the ability to see possibilities where others saw only problems, to find solutions in the spaces between established rules. They were the descendants of Deathworlders, yes, but that heritage had given them strength that the galaxy was only beginning to understand. The observation deck of the ERS Thunderchild offered a spectacular view of the now stable region of space where the quantum anomaly had threatened to tear reality apart. Chief Researcher Zara Nell stood beside Captain Chen, her scales shifting through subtle shades of blue and gold, curiosity mixed with lingering anxiety. Your ship's internal gravity is set to nearly twice the galactic standard, Zara Nell observed, her translator working overtime to capture the nuances of her harmonic speech. Yet your crew moves as if they were born to it. Chen smiled, her augmented eyes tracking the ongoing repair operations outside. Most of us were. This gravity setting matches our colony world, New Providence. Technically, it's classified as a death world by Galactic Council standards. The Vilaxian researchers' scales rippled with shock. You established colonies on death worlds. Deliberately. We didn't have much choice, Chen replied, watching as human repair crews in powered exoskeletons worked on the Vilaxian vessel's crystalline hull. Earth was already considered a death world by your standards. When we started expanding, we couldn't afford to be picky about where we settled. Outside, the repair crews were using technology that seemed primitive compared to Vilaxian standards. Direct physical manipulation rather than elegant quantum restructuring. But they worked with a speed and efficiency that defied conventional wisdom, their movements precise despite the challenging conditions. Your method of handling the quantum cascade. Zara Nell began, her scales shifting to a scholarly purple. It violated at least 7 fundamental laws of physics as we understand them. No, Chen corrected gently. It violated 7 fundamental laws of physics as you understand them. We learned early on that the universe doesn't care about our laws. It only cares about results. A human repair technician outside caught their attention, smoothly transitioning from magnetic boots to zero-gravity maneuvering with practiced ease. The technician was using what looked like primitive welding equipment to repair microfractures in the crystalline hull, but the results were undeniable. The repairs were holding better than Vilaxian standard protocols would have predicted. Your species has been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries, Zara Nell noted, her voice carrying a hint of disbelief. Yet you've developed technologies and techniques that our civilization never considered in millions of years. It's not about the time, Chen explained, turning to face the alien researcher. It's about perspective. Your civilization evolved on a world where the environment was stable, predictable. You had time to develop elegant solutions, to wait for perfect understanding before acting. She gestured to the repair crews outside. We came from a world that tried to kill us every day in new and creative ways. We didn't have the luxury of waiting for perfect understanding. We had to adapt, to improvise, to find solutions that worked even if we didn't fully understand why. The ship's AI interrupted with a status update, its voice carrying through the observation deck. Repair operations at 73% completion. Estimated time to full restoration, 47 minutes. Zara Nell's scales shifted to a new color, one that her translator couldn't quite capture, something between awe and concern. Your entire approach to technology, to problem solving. It's fundamentally different from anything in our records. Because we had to be different to survive, Chen replied. Look at our repair crews. Those exoskeletons. They were originally designed for mining operations on worlds with crushing gravity. The welding techniques, adapted from deep-sea repair protocols on Earth. Every piece of technology we use has been refined through necessity, often in ways its original designers never imagined. Outside, a team of human engineers was installing what looked like primitive reinforcement structures along the Vilaxian ship's quantum drive housing. But these weren't simple support beams. They were adaptive resonance dampeners, technology developed for stabilizing mining operations in asteroid fields and repurposed for spaceship repair. Your species treats the impossible as a temporary inconvenience, Zara Nell observed, her scales now showing patterns that indicated deep thought. You don't just solve problems, you transform them into opportunities. Chen nodded, remembering her own training days. When every world you try to settle actively resists your presence, you learn to get creative. Those gravitational tethers we use to stabilize your quantum cascade. They were originally designed to prevent colony buildings from sinking into semi-liquid planetary crusts. We just repurposed them. A flash of light from outside drew their attention. One of the repair crews had encountered an unexpected energy discharge from the crystalline hull. Instead of retreating and recalculating, as Galaxian protocol would demand, the humans simply adjusted their approach in real time, using the energy discharge itself to power their repair equipment. That's what makes us different, Chen continued, pride evident in her voice. We don't just adapt our technology to solve problems, we adapt ourselves. Every human you see out there has been modified in some way. Enhanced muscles for high-gravity environments, reinforced bones, augmented nervous systems. We became what we needed to be to survive. Zaranel's scales shifted through a complex pattern that her translator interpreted as epiphany. Your species wasn't just shaped by evolution. You actively participated in your own development. Exactly, Chen confirmed. While other species waited for perfect solutions, we found ways to make imperfect solutions work. It's not always pretty, it's rarely elegant, but it keeps us alive. And sometimes, like today, it lets us help others stay alive too. The observation deck fell silent as they watched the repair crews complete their work. The Galaxian ship's crystalline hull was now a fascinating hybrid of elegant alien technology and pragmatic human engineering, a visual representation of two very different approaches to surviving in an unforgiving universe. Captain, Zaranel said finally, her scales settling into a formal pattern. I believe our encounter today will change more than just our understanding of quantum physics. The galaxy has much to learn from humanity's unique perspective. Chen smiled, her augmented eyes catching details of the repair work that would have been invisible to unmodified human vision. And we have much to learn from you. After all, survival isn't just about overcoming challenges. It's about finding new ways to grow, to understand, to cooperate. Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the dramas playing out beneath them. But something had changed in this small corner of the galaxy. Two very different approaches to understanding the universe had met, and neither would ever be quite the same again. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice cut through the relative calm of the Thunderchild's bridge like a plasma torch through hull plating. Captain, we're detecting residual energy signatures from the quantum anomaly. They're not natural. Captain Chen turned from her discussion with Zaranel, her augmented eyes already processing the incoming data streams. The holographic displays showed patterns that made her cybernetic implants trigger warning signals throughout her nervous system. Elaborate, she commanded, moving to her station with the fluid grace of someone born in high gravity. The quantum cascade wasn't random, Rodriguez explained, his hands dancing across his console. There are artificial patterns embedded in the subspace distortions. Someone engineered this event. Zaranel's scales shifted to a deep crimson. Alarm. Impossible. The anomaly matched all known patterns for natural quantum phenomena. That's just it, Dr. Patel interjected, her own screens displaying complex mathematical models. It matched them too perfectly. Nature is messy, chaotic. This was designed to look natural while hiding something else entirely. The bridge crew fell silent as the implications sank in. Chen's mind raced through possibilities, her neural enhancements processing scenarios faster than any unaugmented human could manage. Show me the pattern analysis, she ordered. The main holographic display filled with multilayered data streams, each representing a different aspect of the quantum event they'd just contained. Zaranel moved closer, her scientific curiosity overriding her initial skepticism. These energy signatures, they're similar to theoretical models my people developed for quantum communication across dimensional boundaries. Theoretical? Chen asked, not taking her eyes off the display. We abandoned the research, The Galaxian researcher explained, her scales now showing patterns of deep concentration. The energy requirements were astronomical, and the risks of dimensional instability were too great. No civilization we know of has ever attempted to implement it practically. Rodriguez's console emitted a sharp alert. "Captain, we're detecting new quantum fluctuations. Whatever was hidden in that anomaly, it's still active." Chen's decision was immediate. In situations like this, protocol dictated they retreat to safe distance and call for reinforcements. Protocol, however, had never encountered whatever they were dealing with now. "Begin active sensor suites," she ordered. "Full spectrum, maximum power. Dr. Patel, work with Chief Researcher Zaira Nell. I want to know everything about these theoretical models of quantum communication." "Captain," her first officer cautioned, "regulations state that in the event of encountering unknown hostile technology." Regulations were written by people who never stood where we're standing. Chen cut him off. "Whatever this is, it's already demonstrated the ability to create quantum anomalies that could tear apart space-time. We can't risk letting it escape while we wait for backup." The Thunderchild's engines hummed to life, their unique harmonic resonance a testament to humanity's unconventional approach to spacecraft design. Around them, the repair crews began returning to the ship, their powered exoskeletons moving with practiced efficiency. "Your ship isn't equipped for this kind of investigation," Zaira Nell pointed out, her scales showing concern. "The energy patterns we're detecting suggest technology far beyond our understanding." Chen finished with a slight smile. "That's where you're wrong. We don't need to understand something completely to deal with it. We just need to understand it enough to affect it." She turned to her crew. "Rodriguez, reconfigure our gravitational tethers. If these signals are trying to communicate across dimensions, let's give them something to talk to. Dr. Patel, work with our Galaxian friends. Combine their theoretical models with our practical experience in quantum manipulation. You're going to attempt to intercept interdimensional communications with mining equipment." Zaira Nell's translator struggled to convey her mixture of horror and fascination. "Repurpose mining equipment," Chen corrected. "The same equipment that just helped save your ship. Sometimes the best tools aren't the ones designed for the job. They're the ones that can be adapted to it." The space around the Thunderchild began to shimmer as the gravitational tethers powered up. Instead of the controlled pattern they used to contain the quantum cascade, they now created a chaotic web of intersecting fields, each calibrated to detect and interact with dimensional distortions. "Energy spike," Rodriguez announced. "Something's responding to our field emissions." The main viewport showed what looked like ripples in the fabric of space itself, as if someone had dropped a stone into a cosmic pond. The Thunderchild's sensors struggled to process the readings, their displays showing cascading patterns of quantum interference. "It's a probe," Zaira Nell realized, her scales cycling through colors of revelation. The anomaly was never meant to destroy. It was meant to test, to see how different civilizations would respond to a quantum-level crisis. Chen's augmented eyes narrowed as she processed this information, and whoever sent it just got more than they bargained for. They expected civilizations to either fail to contain the crisis or to succeed using conventional methods. They never expected humans. Zaira Nell finished. "Your species' unique approach to the problem revealed patterns that were meant to stay hidden." The ripples in space were intensifying now, forming patterns that even the Thunderchild's advanced sensors couldn't fully map. Whatever they discovered was responding to their presence, adjusting its behavior in ways that suggested an intelligence behind it. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, his voice tense, "the quantum signatures are consolidating. I think something's coming through." Chen stood at her command station, her posture reflecting years of facing the unknown. "Well then, let's show them what happens when you underestimate the creatures who made death worlds their homes." Around them, space itself began to tear open, revealing something that would challenge both human ingenuity and Galaxian wisdom. But for the first time in galactic history, These two very different civilizations would face it together, one with millions of years of accumulated knowledge, the other with an unmatched ability to turn the impossible into the merely improbable. The dimensional rift hung in space like a wound in reality itself, its edges crackling with energies that defied conventional physics. The bridge of the Thunderchild had fallen silent, every crew member watching as something began to emerge from the tear between worlds. "Energy readings are off the scale," Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the situation. "Whatever's coming through, it's big." Through the rift came a vessel that seemed to defy physical laws. Its surface shifted and flowed like liquid metal, but sensors indicated it was harder than any known material. It was massive, easily dwarfing both the Thunderchild and the Valaxian research vessel. "By the first stars," Zyra whispered, her scales a kaleidoscope of awe and fear. "It's precursor technology. It has to be." Chen's augmented eyes rapidly analyzed the vessel, her neural implants processing information faster than any unmodified human could manage. Precursor or not, they just gave away their biggest advantage: surprise. "Rodriguez, are you still tracking those quantum signature patterns?" "Yes, Captain. They're similar to what we detected in the original anomaly, but much stronger now." "Good." Chen's voice carried the calm confidence that had seen her crew through countless impossible situations. "Dr. Patel, what have you and our Vilaxian friends learned about their quantum communication methods?" Dr. Patel looked up from her station, where she'd been working closely with the Vilaxian scientists. "Their technology operates on principles of quantum entanglement across dimensional boundaries. It's incredibly sophisticated. But what? But it's also incredibly rigid," Zyra finished, her scales showing the excitement of scientific discovery. "Their system relies on perfect quantum coherence. Any disruption to the entanglement patterns would do exactly what we're best at." Chen smiled, "making elegant systems work in ways they were never meant to." The alien vessel had fully emerged now, its surface rippling with patterns that seemed to hurt the eyes of anyone who looked at them too long. A transmission burst from it, flooding every communication channel with data in languages so ancient they made the ship's translators crash. "They're scanning us," Rodriguez reported, "trying to assess our threat level." "Captain, I think they're disappointed. Their scans show we're technologically inferior by their standards." "Good," Chen replied, her smile growing wider. "Let them think that." "Dr. Patel, are those gravitational tethers still configured according to the Vilaxian theoretical models?" "Yes, Captain. But if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, it's never been tested. The energy requirements alone would be massive." "Yes." Chen cut in. "Fortunately, our friends here just provided us with all the energy we need. Rodriguez, reconfigure the sensor arrays. Use their scanning beams as power conduits." Understanding dawned on Zyra face, her scales shifting to a color that indicated both amazement and disbelief. "You're going to use their own scans to power our response? That's insane." Chen suggested. "Impossible. Remember what I said about humans and impossible things." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, each member understanding their role in this improvised plan. The precursor vessel loomed above them, its surface now generating patterns that suggested it was preparing some kind of response to their presence. "They're powering up weapons systems," Rodriguez reported. "Whatever they're planning, it's happening soon." "Perfect timing," Chen responded. "All stations, execute Protocol Omega-9. The Thunderchild's gravitational tethers sprang to life, but instead of creating the controlled patterns they'd used before, they now generated a chaotic web of intersecting fields. Each intersection point corresponded to a quantum frequency from the Vilaxian theoretical models. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The precursor vessel's surface patterns began to distort, its perfect quantum coherence disrupted by the humans' crude but effective intervention. The ship's own scanning beams, caught in the gravitational web, created feedback loops that amplified the effect. "Impossible," Zyra breathed, watching as the mighty vessel began to lose its hold on our dimension. You're using their own quantum entanglement against them, forcing them to choose between maintaining their presence here and maintaining their connection to their home dimension. Sometimes, Chen replied, eyes fixed on the main display. The best way to deal with superior technology is to make it fight itself. The precursor vessel's surface was now rippling violently, its perfect patterns dissolving into chaos. A new transmission burst from it, but this time the message was clear and in modern galactic standard. CEAC is NTERFEORNs. UKANNOTQOMPREE and the forces UREMANIPULATing. Chen leaned forward in her command chair. Actually, not comprehending things has never stopped us before. Rodriguez, push the tethers to maximum power. Let's show them what happens when you underestimate Deathworlders. The space around the Thunderchild lit up with energies that no human ship should have been able to generate. The precursor vessel's perfect form began to blur, its matter struggling to remain in our dimension as its quantum coherence collapsed. With a flash that temporarily overloaded every sensor in range, the massive vessel vanished, pulled back through its dimensional rift by its own compromised systems. The rift itself collapsed seconds later, leaving behind only normal space and a lot of very confused sensor readings. Silence fell over the bridge, broken only by the soft beeping of equipment returning to normal operation modes. Then Zaira Nell spoke, her scales showing a color that her translator simply labeled as profound respect. You didn't just drive them off, she said. You taught them something no advanced civilization has learned in millions of years, that sometimes the crude solution is the right one. That perfect technology can be defeated by imperfect innovation. Chen nodded, finally allowing herself to relax slightly. That's humanity's gift to the galaxy. We don't just survive. We thrive on breaking rules that everyone else thinks are unbreakable. The aftermath of the encounter would send ripples through galactic society for centuries to come. The Vilaxians, one of the oldest and most respected civilizations, formally requested human assistance in developing new approaches to quantum physics. Other species, hearing of the incident, began to see humanity in a new light. But perhaps most importantly, it marked the beginning of a new era in galactic history, one where the accumulated wisdom of ancient civilizations began to blend with the raw innovation of humanity, where the elegant solutions of the old met the pragmatic adaptability of the new. As the Thunderchild's crew began their post-incident procedures, Chen looked out at the now calm space where they'd just rewritten the rules of what was possible. You know, she said to no one in particular, maybe that's why we survived our death world. Not because we were stronger or smarter, but because we never learned to accept limitations. Zaira Nell's scales shifted to a color that needed no translation. Hope. Perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needed. Not just survivors, but those who could teach the rest of us how to survive. The stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the dramas played out beneath them. But the galaxy had changed today, touched by the unique perspective of a species that had turned their harsh origins into their greatest strength. The Deathworlders had proved once again that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't technological superiority or ancient wisdom. It's the ability to look at the impossible and say, let's try it anyway.